What do you smoke? Should we smoke the choke or the spike when defusing? Smokes are essential during the retake and can shift the tides during a post-plant situation. Personally, I've always thought that it was better to smoke off the spike during a defuse and not the choke. Today, I'd like to look into this topic to see if I'm wrong, and if it's actually better to smoke off the latter instead.
Nice.
But in order to know which is better between the two, we need to first understand the different pros and cons of either option. Smoking the bomb is what I've learned to do through years of playing CSGO, and it's helped me on multiple occasions in Valorant. Let's go over the various advantages and disadvantages it provides. One of the biggest advantages of smoking the spike is that it denies info to enemies from all angles, especially if the spike is planted open or if you only have a single smoke left. This one smoke on the spike can deny a lot of information. And since you're encasing yourself in the smoke, that means that various recon abilities are rendered useless. And this brings us to advantage number 2, which is that smoking the spike forces enemies to either spam the smoke, which reveals their position, or they have to push out of the choke or even into the smoke to check on the spike. This is really strong in my opinion because compared to a choke smoke, attackers have considerable distance that they have to cover before getting visual confirmation on the spike. Either that, they have to hold their position and have to gamble that their spray is either accurate or that you're not sticking. And then this leads to advantage number 3, which is arguably the most important one, which is that smoking the spike gives you the power to pace the fight by allowing you to become the initiator. And I don't mean the role, I mean that if attackers decide to push out and are scrambling to make sure you're not sticking the defuse, you have the power to pop out of anywhere out of the smoke at any time you want, giving you the jump on the enemy, who's unsure if you're tapping or sticking the defuse. Conversely, you also have the advantage of holding inside of the smoke if you're positive that the enemy will push into it. The bottom line is, the main advantage of smoking the spike is that it gives you the power to control the pace of the situation by forcing enemies to come to you. But that doesn't mean that it's completely flawless. Compared to Counter-Strike, Valorant has an accurate pinging system that can make spraying the spike easier by giving a clear indicator of where to shoot. And without a smoke covering the choke, attackers can get a pretty clear visual of the area of where they should spray. The smoke can also work against you in that it not only denies info to your enemies, but also to yourself. There can be times where the enemy silently repositions out of the smoke without you knowing, anticipating your swing out and catching you off guard. So, when should you smoke the spike? Typically, the general consensus is that it's better to smoke the spike when 1. You aren't sure of the enemy's position. The denial of info forces enemies to reveal their position via spam or by pushing. Or 2. If you only have one smoke and there are multiple angles to hold off. Smoking the choke is useful during the retake, but what about when it comes time to defuse? One of the advantages of smoking the choke is that it denies info to the site completely. It can be difficult as an attacker to tell if they have direct line of sight with the spike because they could be shooting a wall unknowingly or be completely off the mark. Which leads us to the biggest advantage in smoking the choke. You're putting the enemies at a complete disadvantage if they decide to swing out to check on the spike. Conversely, you can also push that smoke, bringing the fight to the enemy. But that's also why I personally think smoking the choke isn't the most reliable. What if the enemy decides to gamble that you aren't on the spike and never pushes out? You just lost your biggest advantage. Unless you're pushing the smoke, you give up the advantage of initiating the fight by waiting for the enemies to swing out of the choke. You're essentially at their mercy. And unless you reposition well, the enemy will assume that you'll be near the spike, and at that point, it becomes a battle of reaction time and who can flick faster. The smoke can also potentially act as more space for the enemy to play with. They can use it as additional cover as they spray the spike, and you can't spray back as confidently. They can also use it to set up potential plays with flashes or other util. Not to mention that smoking off a single choke can also leave you vulnerable to other angles and also to recon utility. Taking all of that into consideration, I'd say that the best time to smoke off the choke for defuse is if you confirm that the enemy is positioned in the choke, or if you have multiple teammates alive to cover or trade you. So in the end, which is better? Should we smoke the spike or smoke the choke? In a game like Valorant, there are so many factors to take into consideration when determining the best placement for a smoke during a defuse. You have to take into account the time left on the spike, how many players remaining on each team, potential ults and lineups, etc. I don't think this is a one-size-fits-all situation. There will be times when you have to smoke the spike, and times where you're better off smoking the choke. All in all though, my experience still leads me to lean on the side that smoking the spike will oftentimes be more reliable than smoking the choke. What do you guys think? Leave your opinions in the comments, I'm down to be refuted. See you around.
Oi! 1 HP! 1 HP! You fucking
Woof.
shoulder delivery right now.
Yes, sir.